Good evening and welcome to Flat Earth Statistics with me, Nathan Oakley. And joining me this evening is Mark Sargent. How are you doing, Mark?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me very much, Nathan.
Superb. As many of us will be well aware, in the last 12, 18 months, perhaps 2 years for some, the flat Earth has resurged on us in an enormous way, and it has got bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yep.
Nobody would have ever expected that 12 months ago, the type of statistics we will discuss tonight would have been anything like the kind of numbers that we're talking about. But say, la vie, that is how we are at the moment. So, Mark, maybe you can start us off by telling us how you noticed some of these statistics.
I'm a big stats nut to begin with. So when I started doing the flat Earth stuff, the numbers, there's some people that, how did I start this? Mark Twain said, there are lies, there are damn lies, and then there are statistics. But what he was really referring to was politicians and how the authority can use the numbers to their advantage. Like 51% of the population voted for me. Well, yeah, but 49% didn't. It doesn't matter. You focus on the 51 and you ignore the 49. So when I was looking at flat Earth some months ago, I was noticing that it was climbing the raw numbers, and it really depends. You can type in one of two things. If you want to look at mostly positive flat Earth stuff, you just type in flat Earth into YouTube or Google or whatever. And if you type in flat Earth, you'll get, we got as high as 7.5 million relevant search results. And then it started dropping, and that was the peak shortly after the B.O.B. and Neil deGrasse Tyson thing. It started dropping, and over the last, I don't know, 6-7 weeks, it dropped down even below 5, which was interesting. And at the same time, if you type in Earth is flat into YouTube, you'll get, we were at one point a high of 10.5 million roughly, and then that started dropping down to below 9. And then all of a sudden, within the last, I don't know, 8 days, we've got this huge resurgence. Now, some people can blame it on the YouTube algorithms and how they're trying to clean up YouTube, and they're going after certain categories. And you've probably seen some of the how people have gotten, some of the higher players in YouTube have getting bent out of shape because they're getting copyright noticed, or they're getting advertiser banned and stuff for different topics. But over the last, we'll just say 8 days, the flat Earth on both sides of the fence has really, really climbed to where even so I put out a video, and what I did was, and you probably saw it, where I compare it to mainstream topics. So if you type in Kim Kardashian, you'll get less than 3 million. If you type in Fox News or CNN or any, a lot of major institutions, or even the Beatles, you'll get way, way less numbers. And then when you type in flat Earth, you'll get way, way higher numbers. And then if you type in the Earth is flat, I get queuing it up right now. The Earth is flat. It really, really jumps, and it jumped up to 12 million recently. Yeah, Netflix 4.1 million. And these numbers also have gone up. The entire Simpsons franchise, for example, well, hell, I might as well go through these because this thing only lasts like 2 minutes. NBC, and that means every story that runs with NBC in front of it. NBC News, NBC shows. The Beatles. If you type in the Beatles, you'd think it would get a massive amount of things, but it's copyrighted, so it's 6.1 million. Walking Dead, the entire franchise, is coming in at 6.2, and that series is currently still running. Titanic, everything that's ever been done on Titanic at 7.8. Let's keep going. CNN, you think that CNN, 8.5 million, not too shabby at all, right? These are brand names. These are major institutions. The entire Hunger Games franchise comes in at 7.5. Let's see, Warcraft, the longest running video game of all time, 8.7. Been running for 12 years. I still play it. McDonald's, every story that's ever been done on McDonald's that's inside YouTube comes in at 9.3. 9/11, probably the biggest American conspiracy of all time, maybe the biggest world conspiracy of all time until recently, 10.1. Gangam Style, the first video to ever hit 1 billion hits, comes in at 10,200,000. Selfie, anyone that's ever done a video about taking a selfie comes in at 10.5, and that's a lot of people since cell phones have come out. Fox News, known for sensationalism. They create a lot of buzz with their stories, comes at 10.6. Everything that Snoop Dogg has ever done comes in at 11.3. And then finally, Flat Earth, Earth is flat at 12 million. And since that has come out, even then, like I type in flat, you can do this right now. If you type in Earth is flat right now, since that ran, what was that, 2-3 days ago? It's at 12.9. So it's nutty, the tracking that's going up on this topic. And the question is why? Why now? Why is it because the American elections are coming to a head and something's coming? Is it the 100th monkey effect? That if anyone doesn't know what that is, please look it up. It's a really, really interesting story. I'm not sure what, because I've been scouring. Once I saw the numbers start pegging recently, I started going into the search engines, just Google and find, anything, Bing, anything that's out there in search engine, and trying to find flat Earth stories. Nothing has been really sensationalized recently. Although I've got to mention this. I'm sorry, I'm going off on a rant here. I had some coffee, or I'm sorry, black tea. And that is, what has changed over the last 6 months is that, which is why I call it the world's guilty secret pleasure, is that the search engine priorities have now changed. And you've probably seen that, to where you can type in, doesn't have to be YouTube, it can be anything, it can be Google, right? You can type in Earth is, or is the Earth, or even, you can even type in now, is the, and it should fill in, is the Earth flat? That's is the two most common words ever, is the, and it's filling in. That's what the flat Earth community has changed recently, which has changed the search engine priorities. And people say, oh, that's not a big deal. It's like, oh yeah, it is. There are marketing companies out there that would lie, cheat, and kill to get that sort of marketing presence for their products.
Well, that was going to be the next kind of leading nicely to the next question I was going to ask, which is kind of a two-parter, which is, number one, what does this mean to people in the flat Earth community or flat Earthers? Yep. And number two, what does this mean to the people at large, the people who are unaware that there's even a flat Earth resurgence?
It is, and I still believe that it is a 100th monkey effect scenario. That's always been my goal. It's always going to be my goal. And again, let me break down the
100th monkey.
All right. The 100th monkey scenario, and scientists will argue this, blows me away. And that is, there were some monkeys out in the Pacific Rim on a series of islands, and scientists gave them potatoes. They would drop some potatoes off on the beach for them, and these monkeys really liked these potatoes. But they got sand on them. So the monkeys slowly but surely started learning that if they washed the, because the water was right there, if they washed the potatoes off in the water, they were much tastier to eat, and they didn't have to deal with all that sand. And what was interesting was, that wasn't the problem solving, wasn't the interesting part. The interesting part was, once the 100th monkey washed their potato, in the water, every other monkey knew it instinctively. Not just that 100th monkey, but all the other monkeys that were on the shore that hadn't even watched the other monkeys that was going on. And not only that, but monkeys on the other islands that weren't even connected to this island all of a sudden knew what to do. It was like they were connected, whatever you want to call it, genetically, telepathically, the same thing of like, how do birds, is it just reflexes, or when they fly as a flock and they can turn and as fast as they can, are they connected in some way? But with the monkeys thing, it was very, very interesting. So when it comes to flat Earth, I still think that's going to happen. It has become, for every person that's making a YouTube video on flat Earth, how many more people are out there that want to make a video but don't have the ability to? And then how many more people are out there that know about it? I mean, I get emails every single hour from people that say that, oh yeah, I'm totally on board, but I have no one to talk to about this, or I'm afraid to talk about it. They know it in their heart, but they're in the closet. I don't want to use too many, of those overtones, but it's true. They're in the closet about it. And so that's when you see these numbers building like this, that's what's happening, because there are more and more people out there searching for this, and not just making videos, but responding to videos, going against it. When you type in Earth is flat, you get quite a few debunkers as well. So flat Earth, you'll get mostly pro. You type in Earth and flat is flat, you'll get everything from the Vsauce to every celebrity or heavy YouTuber that's addressed it, because just about everybody in YouTube now who has a podcast has addressed it, because their fan base wants them to address it. So what it means to the flat Earth community is that it just keeps growing below the surface at a rate that is, we can't even measure, because like the census, again, I don't want to delve too much into this, but like we all know that officially 5% of the population is homosexual, but we also know that it's actually more like 10% because there's another 5% that will never tell the census takers that they actually are. That's the whole point of being
the equivalent to the people who are definitely watching and then will occasionally make a comment and say, look, I've been watching for 12 months and I don't normally make comments, but those guys.
How many people do you know, I mean, that have started brand new YouTube channels just because of flat Earth? How many people will make comments that have never commented it before? Or like that call-in show that I did on Eminem's podcast thingy, if you heard that, where they were, these guys, some of the people, you hadn't heard that, listen to that thing. It's called Shade 45. That's the name of the podcast that Eminem, he owns it, but he's got somebody else hosting it, one of his friends apparently. And the people that were calling in on that show had never even heard of the concept. And they were like, these are people that apparently didn't normally call into the show. And back to the search engine thing. Do you know how many people it takes to change a search engine priority? Forget about the best soft drink is, right? That takes a lot, to change that. You'd have to really, really concentrate a marketing effort. But to change something like something generic like the Earth is, or I mean, how many questions get asked? Like, is the, right? Is the new iPhone waterproof? Is is this whatever it is? Now it's been replaced is the Earth flat? Do you know how many people it takes? Now, granted, that's the anonymous group out there, the people that are typing this in and not telling anybody they're typing this in. They're like real quiet, like looking over their shoulder, make sure their wife doesn't find out or husband. It's like, is the Earth flat? And
but you're right. The other end of the scale, there is lots of people like you and Patricia Steer who every single day have gone from 12 months ago, maybe 18 months ago, it was daily searches to 2-hourly searches to we've got a half-hour update on this thing.
Oh yeah, I never used to use the filters on YouTube. I didn't have to, right? But now I have to. I mean, now I, at the very least, I will go in and I'll say, search for flat Earth or the Earth is flat, set it to 1 day. If I'm away from the computer, I'll set it to 1 week in case I miss something. And then if I'm really up on it, I'll say to show me everything in the last hour to see what's going on right this second. What it means to the rest of the people out there is really, really interesting for me because I have something directly I can compare it to. And that is a movie that came out last year, I believe, called The Big Short. If you didn't see it, it's about the financial crisis. It's not a documentary. It's kind of like a fiction, well, not even fictionalized, based on a true story thing about how the financial crisis went down in 2007, 2008. And what it was showing was there was a character played by, I highly recommend it for anybody who wants to. I know it's a little complex to watch because a lot of people don't even know what the financial crisis was about. But Christian Bale played a character who knew whatever instincts he had. He knew right off the bat, years in advance, like a couple years in advance. He goes, look, every number I crunch, everything that I see in these different sectors shows me that the stock market is being hollowed out from underneath, and eventually it's going to collapse because there's nothing holding it up. It's the bubble of all bubbles. Well, at least it was back then. Who knows what's coming down the pipe? Anyway, the point was he got to a stage in the movie where his math said, sort of like the 100th monkey effect. He goes, the market's still up and he can't figure out why. He's going, all his formulas are sitting there on the board. He's going, this thing should have crashed by now. Why hasn't it crashed? Why is this thing still up? And what he didn't realize was that the powers that be, the authority, actually had the ability to keep it, to stall the crash. You can create a system to where basically the authority wasn't going to let it crash until they wanted it to crash. Oh yeah, the stock market was a lie. All those numbers and all those jacked up profits.
Isn't that just a little bit terrifying? Because that implies, if you extrapolate out what you're saying, and take the fact that the 100 monkey effect, your aunt and uncle who's never heard of this could potentially just start knowing, instinctivity, or searching for it instinctively or whatever. But you've also got the bubble that is this mass of, that is the Earth itself, the bubble that is this globe is ready to pop, but the powers that be are managing to keep it just about held together. The papier-mâché ball that we're poking our holes through is still just about integral.
Yeah, that's how it feels for me, because I look at this thing and I look at the numbers, and I used to joke with certain flat earthers. I say, look, when it gets to because the question is, how high do the numbers have to get before all of a sudden everybody gets it, to where you can walk into a conversation with somebody, and I've already seen 1 degree of separation now. I'm already getting those stories coming in from the fringes where I've got friends of mine.
1 degree of what do you mean?
There's an old saying. It was 7 degrees of separation, also known as the 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Sure. Okay, but what did you mean?
Yeah, you know that. Where I know somebody direct, one of my direct friends who wasn't still isn't a flat Earth believer, that's catching flat Earth news, flat Earth stories from people they know that have nothing to do with me. And which, is like where they're saying, in fact, there was one story I think I relayed in one of my shows where it was a good friend of mine who was working in an HR company, pretty big, a couple thousand people. And she's just having a casual conversation with a guy, and who I do not know. And he says, oh yeah, my children were working on a school project with maps, and I happened to show them, an AE map. And the kids go, Dad, that's a flat Earth map. And my friend goes, yeah, you know what? I know a guy who's really into flat Earth. And they both pause, and he goes, it's not Mark Sargent, is it? And she's like, oh my God. She goes, you know who that guy is? She goes, yeah. Anyway, the point is those stories are already starting to filter in around. So I think in some ways it's already happened, but because mainstream, like we were just saying here, until mainstream comes out with something that people can gravitate towards, even if they're poking fun of it, even if they're doing a reality show called Flat Earthers, which would be brilliant, by the way, that show would immediately polarize so many people, because then it would give other mainstream sources an excuse, license to go after it, to go after the topic. Is Flat Earthers the worst reality show in all time, or is it the greatest? Because it's getting all these ratings, and there's fighting, and there's and people are writing into the network and saying, oh, you can't do this.
I mean, this raises another question then, because if we're spending all day long highlighting how we've been indoctrinated with the global lie, then the mainstream television taking that up, it kind of seems either like it couldn't happen at all, or it could only happen if it was intended to be part of their control. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. And I've said this to different people over the last year and a half, and hard to believe it's only been a year and a half, because so much has happened since then. But you're right. There's no way, and I don't want to delve into it too much because you already know some of the stories, but I'll relay this, which is, there is no way, if you wanted to shut this thing down, the powers that be have the ability to do that right now. They could suppress this thing to where no one would even give it a time of day, because there's certain, especially with software and computers, so easy to do it. The search engines, that's a couple lines of code. So you never say, the search priority, all you have to do is never ever say Earth is flat, or any of these little combinations. Never bump that up towards the top. How many people have I seen where they have come into the community because it was recommended to them on the side? They were looking at something on JFK or 9/11 or Pearl Harbor or whatever it was, and all of a sudden something recommended for you, flat Earth. All you have to do is say, if you see flat Earth in this combination in a video, never recommend it to anybody ever. And then it never ever gets recommended. But they're doing the opposite. They're letting it through. And
I mean, well, we can accept that there's definitely people on top, if you want to phrase it that way, that know that the Earth is flat, that there's a lie in place. There's going to be the vast majority, the 99.99999% of people who are part of that system that is in place anyway and working within it, be it academic or whatever scientific field, that simply don't know, but are going to be just as intrigued as the next one, which makes me kind of say, well, is that the case? Is it the case that basically most people don't have the slightest clue, but are just going to be intrigued? And it's actually these statistics that we're looking at have organically grown, and it's had nothing to do with the control structure. They categorically don't want it. And, when it pops, who knows what will happen?
It's possible. It's possible. And I don't want to, you're right. I don't want to go down, because I've always tried to stay positive. I don't want to go down the sinister path and say that they're letting it happen because they want, they've got something bigger in mind. But at the same time, because yeah, if you want to soften the target, use a military term there, that's what you do. I mean, to where now, if flat Earth came out, I think there's enough people in general population to where if it came out in mainstream, yeah, you'd walk in the office like, man, can you believe the Earth is flat? And you'd have like one or two people going, dude, I totally knew that. So I've been following this thing for a while. Believe me, you're late to the game. And then that would be like, oh, really? So then it wouldn't be as a shock. It's like, oh, Fred knew. So if Fred knew and Tyler knew, then we apparently I am late to the game.
So easy to spot the liars, because it'll be the ones that, like you said, it was about 18 months. For me, it's a little over 12 months. It's been quite a short period. And there's a handful of people, I've looked for them, that knew before that. And we all know who they are. So the guy who comes along and says, I've known for 5 years. Really? Have you?
Luckily for the internet, the date timestamps, yeah, you can weed those people out. Nobody, in fact, I was a little worried that that the mainstream would eventually manufacture somebody that would come out and like, oh yeah, he had a book 3 years ago, and like this, like, dude. But now the detection ability, most of the internet crowd would be like, dude, you weren't even around. You're nobody. You can't. I don't think create a mainstream figure out of nothing. However, before I forget this point, the Neil deGrasse Tyson thing, I don't know if you and I ever talked about this. What got to me more than anything when I watched Neil do his thing on television when he was on Comedy Central. And by the way, most people, you can't, they're really strict on that. You can't take that clip and throw it out there. They will smack you down. Was that if you're going to go after it, he didn't go after it. I use a Tiger Woods reference, bringing his best stuff, his A game. I mean, if you want to go after the masses, the masses are mouth breathers for the most part. No offense, everyone's listening to this. You guys are top notch, but there's a lot of people out there that are just really, they have no attention span and they're not very smart. So when all you have to do is what I was saying was, if I went out on stage and I was him, I would bring, I don't know, 10 seconds of the Himawara satellite footage, or a graphic, or this, some still shots, a couple videos. I'd run the Himawara footage because it shows weather patterns, even though the Earth doesn't rotate, which is weird. And I would say, here's the Earth for you. What more do you want? Thank you. Drop the mic and goodbye. He didn't bring any movies. He didn't bring any pictures. He didn't bring any graphics. He didn't bring any of that stuff. All he did was do a stupid horizon calculation thing, and he was losing people in the first 15 seconds. And yeah, the audience was coached and going, ooh and ah, and the host was like, oh, damn, no, he didn't, that sort of stuff. But he didn't bring his best stuff, so why not? I mean, he's the world's most popular physicist. So why didn't he come out and bring his best stuff? It was like he was trying to not crush it, kind of a token shot. Even so far when he was on Bloomberg or CNN or one of those other shows, when he's sitting there on the show, and you've heard this already, he's on the show saying we shouldn't give any time to flat earthers, right? And I'm going, you wouldn't say that on air.
There's no need.
You'd say this in the production meeting before you go on stage, and you'd go behind closed doors, no cameras. You say, by the way, yeah, no one should ever talk about flat Earth. Let's kill this subject like right now. Instead, he does the opposite and does the thing, the old saying, and that is, you can't not talk about something by talking about it. So anyway, yes, do I think that the powers that be are trying to spin this thing and trying to turn it or use it to their advantage? Yes, they do. Of course they do. There's too many. We've gone pretty much. I mean, how many flat earthers have disappeared out there other than Tiger Dan? How many channels have been just blown? I mean, even ODD came back, and he's come back with a vengeance. I mean, the stuff that he's got. I mean, he's gotten what, 400,000 hits in a month. He's like it never happened. Nobody's been approached by suits and sunglasses, as far as I know. It's been really, a few token shots here and there. The Tiger Dan thing, weird. A few channels.
They never break the ridicule rule that they have in place, which is first rule of thumb: just ridicule it. That's it. mean, it was great with Neil deGrasse Tyson because it opened it up to some, nice memes. I remember Bob saying, gravity bitches, and then you let go of a helium balloon, stuff like that. Nice memes that he's generated off the back of that total nonsense.
Yeah. Yeah, and the news stories that have been coming out. Yeah, initially when the B.O.B. Neil Tyson thing came out, yeah, every major media, group covered it. I even got a phone call from a friend of mine who basically just listens to NPR, right? And she calls me and she goes, you're never going to guess what I'm looking at my phone right now. I go, I have no idea. She goes, it's on NPR. She goes, what's happening in the flat Earth community right now? And I go, why? Because even they covered it, because Neil deGrasse Tyson is covered by everybody. There's no reason to not cover him. So where was I going with this? The point is that the numbers don't lie in this case. There's something happening, and it's been happening really, really recently, to where we jumped from 4.9, or I'm sorry, let's take the Earth is flat. It went from 8.9, 8.7, all the way to right this second, if I hit it, 12.9. 12.9, may hit 13 tomorrow. That's massive compared to huge
12.9 million
relevant search hits on YouTube. Now, does that mean there's 12 million videos? Not necessarily, but what YouTube does, they're really interesting. I'll throw a little trivia for you in case you didn't know. If you ever see in front of a name of a channel, if you ever see the hashtag in front of that, that's not a person. That is, and YouTube will tell you this, you can look this up. That is a YouTube created channel that's helping promote trends. So I remember going in, when this thing really started rocketing up, to where you would see a whole bunch of YouTube videos, and then you'd see playlists created by the hashtag names with a whole bunch of flat Earth videos. And I'm just going, what is this? And there was a lot of them that happened very, very quickly, a couple hundred, 300, 400 in a day. I couldn't figure out what it was. And I looked it up, and YouTube likes promote, famous for being famous. That actually works in the YouTube world as well. And that is, if they see something getting popular, they'll help it get even more popular because they want more people, the revenue streams from the YouTube side.
So it's back to the mercenary element of, the people that undoubtedly don't know, your YouTube MD in the UK who's looking at the stats for the UK figures and says, yeah, that it might be worth doing X, Y, Z and promoting it. Or like you say, probably not even a guide, just an algorithm that goes, it's sensible to promote this because it's got a trend, and all day long, all that does is analyze the stats. Yeah.
Yeah. The news stories that have come out recently, and I've done some narrations on the articles. There have been people that have gone forward. It only takes a few people on the dance floor before you get, less people thinking it's less ridiculous, to where they've run stories just on flat Earth in general, on the whole forest thing, to where these are really nice articles. The one I really loved was the men who believe the world is flat. That great story about a doctor who manages other doctors, who's absolutely on board with this. There's a lot more people that are not shy about. It's like, look, they're not yelling this from the rooftops, but they're saying, look, this is an interesting concept, and it's not something that can be discounted in 5 seconds anymore. It's something that really, really can be looked at seriously. And so what does this mean for the rest of the world? It means that the people that are tired of hearing about it, because if you were against this a year ago, you've really got to hate us at this point, because it's not going away. The videos that came out, over the last year, you've seen them. The one that say, case closed, RIP, flat Earth dead, done, finished, we're done with this. Really? Because come back tomorrow. Tell me that tomorrow.
It did seem at one point, as much as I was on the inside of this, like someone would come out with a video like that, flat Earth debunked 100%, and then a load of flat earthers descend on them and kind of pick apart what they're saying. And it must have been quite horrible for a lot of those people thinking, what a load of rubbish. I'll debunk this in no time. A lot like yourself, Mark. And then you try and debunk it, but don't do a very good job. Publish your video, and a load of tenacious flat earthers come along and go, no.
Well, that's what bugs me. And I got to throw Joe Rogan into the mix here, because if he had only done a couple videos, a couple shows where he mentioned it, I would have been like, all right, yeah, he hates us. But he's done, I think, 12 now, where when he's actually leading in with the shows, he knows he's not dumb. And the reason is because most people don't understand this about when you get to a certain point in popularity, when you actually are dealing with like producers, if you actually have a producer, producers love controversy. They love the buzz. They don't care in fact, if you get hate mail, they don't care, how bad the hate mail is. It's the fact that people are energized enough to send you hate mail. So when Joe Rogan started attacking Flat Earth and Flat Earth was pushing back hard, sending him tweets every freaking 5 minutes and emailing him all the time and, just saying, look at this, you're wrong. And then, of course, it didn't help that one of his best friends, one of the world's greatest pool players, Max Eberl, was into it, which means that it's like, okay, I know what Joe's doing at this point. He's stuck because he took the deal that Alex Jones did, that George Norrie did, which is, all right, you can hit any other conspiracy you want. Probably shouldn't talk about Building 7 or anything like that, but you can't go after NASA. You can't, and everyone's like, fine, I don't care about NASA. Who cares? Moon missions, who cares? Because it didn't mean anything to them now. Or then and now, because same thing with me, I hated the moon missions too, but I couldn't figure out why. It's like, why would the Americans go to all that trouble? And then it doesn't make any damn sense. But now I get it. But Joe's stuck because he took the deal. And so he can't go out against NASA. So now he's doing shows saying flat earthers are dumb. Flat earthers are dumb. No one should look into flat earth. Flat earth. He's doing this. I know he's doing this. And he can't officially go the other way. He can't even say, flat earth's kind of interesting. He's going, no.
About 12 shows, it pretty much speaks for itself.
Yeah. He's opening, and not only that, he's got multiple channels. They're ridiculous names like the Joe Rogan Experience and King Joe Rogan. But he's like taking clips, the flat earth bits out of those and putting them in a separate bit. He's not dumb. He is not a dumb guy. I listened to some of his stuff, when he was back and when he used to be a conspiracy guy, and fine, he can say he's not a conspiracy guy anymore. He's just regretting it right now. He's like, he wants to be part of this. I know he does, but he can't. So anyway, I'm still waiting for somebody else to jump on this thing. And there's too much, which is why I did, I hadn't done the stats video in a while. The last time I did it was a month ago. And the numbers, the reason why I do these stats videos isn't necessarily for the community. I mean, it's a rah wave the flag thing for the community, sure, but it's also to entice the greed that is outside of flat earth, which is there are guys out there that all they do is look for trends and how can I use this for profit, not to use a Ferengi line, but it's true, the laws of acquisition. And I'm trying to tell this to people. I'm saying, look, this is virgin territory. This is untouched virgin territory. Everything else on this list and the stats have been made billions of dollars.
And had billions invested in it to get there.
Oh, yeah.
How much investment has Flat Earth had? Bugger all.
Zero money. I mean, I've told this to some people that are in the production world, where I've said, look, can you imagine? Look what we've carved out of solid rock with no help from anybody else. We've changed the Google priority search engine, right? We've changed this. There are marketing companies that spend millions of dollars every year to say that the best chip in the world is, and fill in the blank here. We did it with 2 words or 3 words. The Earth is. Name one other group that can actually claim that. Can you imagine what could be done if somebody actually from mainstream came in and stepped in and tried to launch this thing? Because not to get off in a rant here, because I know we're only supposed to talk about certain things, but what I'm trying to get out there is, and maybe I'll do a video on it. I just haven't figured out how to do the stats part, which is it doesn't matter whether you here this is for the production people out there, the people that are saying, look, is flat earth a viable topic? This is why it's viable. It doesn't matter whether you believe in it or not. You can't escape it as a topic, meaning you will have an opinion on it. Nobody sits there on the fence. I mean, I have still seen anyone. It's like, flat earth, whatever. Nobody's like that. They're either in or they're, for it, strong for it or strong against it. And we've seen this in the comments. millions of times now, where the comments just start into a, it's just what do they call it over there? Donnybrook. I mean, just this brawl where people just go at each other tooth and nail for no apparent reason. You want to, I mean, get a chance.
You say no apparent reason. This is part of most, if not all, Western people's conditioning. And I think this has helped push it forward. The antagonists in Flat Earth have driven the people who just know what the world is like now. It's not a globe. It is flat. We know. There's no fear of mentioning this on a YouTube video anymore. It's just the status quo. That's how it is. So therefore, there's no paranoia or fear at attacking some guy who's just saying nonsense and spouting rhetoric, old nonsense, globe nonsense. So you see this all day long in the comments, people batting and fighting. And there's going to be people converted. There's going to be people that get to the end of their argument and realize that they aren't right. They have been proven wrong by a flat earther. And it might not be that they start that journey there and then in the comments, but 12 months down the line, for me, you see people coming to the fold saying, really sorry, I got it wrong. I'm now a flat earther.
Well, at least you get apologies. For me, it's the most unsatisfying thing. If there is a downside to this, it's that when people turn, they usually do it without any sort of sympathy. It's like I've seen it too many times. They make videos, flat earthers are dumb, flat earthers are idiotic, moron flat earthers, and then all of a sudden there'll be this gap where it's a couple weeks and you can tell they lost their minds, and they're like come back and going, you know what? It's not bad. It's not a bad concept at all. And then they keep going. Look at a perfect example would be Quasi-Luminous, who, oh my God. I mean, that guy is in a completely
off the wall.
Oh yeah, he's off the wall. But he used to make videos saying that flat Earth is a distraction, flat Earth is nuts, and you shouldn't believe in flat Earth. And now that's all he makes is flat Earth videos. And granted, he's got what, 30,000 subscribers or something like that. But he went from saying it was a horrible thing, but yeah, you can't. The troops are so ravenous, so unrelenting that you can't go. I mean, why like Red's rhetoric and all the guys that used to who are the other? I can't remember some of them. The one that came out recently again, he came back into it. I think was a guy named True Theory 3. And he used to do anti-flat Earth stuff, and then he got away from it. Now he's back into it because he realizes the hit count goes up. I don't want to dwell on this too much, but here's the other thing that people should remember, and that is, which is why I do public service announcements. I say, look, put flat Earth in the title of your video. Like the St. Marie's Annex, the one that one of your fellow countrymen, not Lawrence spoke at their group. It was a public speaking thing at a podium. Darren Nesbitt also spoke there too. And anyway, St. Marie's Annex has almost
New Horizons.
New Horizons. Yeah. Sorry. Did I say St. Marie's Annex? New Horizons. But it was like but you know what I mean? It's a public speaking thing you can go at. It's in England. And you can look at their hits. It's amazing. Like they'll do public speakers all the time. 300 hits, 200 hits, 500 if you're lucky. Darren Nesbitt does a freaking flat Earth thing for 2 hours. It's over 200,000 hits almost immediately. But the comments were so brutal that the channel actually shut them off. They said, you know what? And they put their own comments saying, this is why we're shutting them off, because it just got too ugly in there. So, but the point is that that's the sort of all these other topics, nobody cares. They don't have an opinion on this one. Everyone has to weigh in. And if you think I'm kidding, listen to the last, you want to have fun after we're done with this, listen to the last 15, it's only a 30-minute interview. Listen to the last 15 minutes of that Shade 45 thing. It was not the hardest thing I've ever.
Eminem video. Eminem.
Yeah, the Eminem. Yeah, the Eminem. Yeah, it's a hip hop station podcast thing where he plays music most of the time, but they allow him to go on the fringe and they say, "Oh, send me a copy of your books." I fine, send me the copy of your book. And apparently, as soon as I started talking, the call lines just started lighting up. So he cut the interview short and said, "You know what? We're just going straight to the calls." And out of the people that called, I think only one was sympathetic. He was going, the Anarch Treaty, man, it's real. It's totally real. I looked it up. The rest of these guys were just vibrating. They were so angry because
that it was even being discussed. Like
exactly the same reason why the Alex Jones channel still will not have me on is because remember when they talked to me last year and they said, is there any way to do a flat earth show without using the words flat earth? I go, yeah, for maybe 10 minutes. But after that, you're going to have to say the words. And they go, yeah, if we say the words, we may lose people. It's like, yeah, you're going to lose people. Of course you are. There's going to be people insulted that you're even, that's what, the bigger channels that I've interviewed with.
For those very same people, this is an outrage. God, I'm off. 10 minutes later, I wonder what they're talking about.
Exactly. Yeah, you can't. Again, it's only because, and you'll hear me in there. I mean, I'm absorbing the adrenaline from them, but at the same time, I totally get it because they're not mad at me. In fact, they're not even mad because they don't believe it. It's they don't want to believe it. It's that whole Neo thing where they're like. The line from, I think it was, somebody corrected me. I think they said it was on Coast to Coast, but it was actually on Ground Zero, where an old elderly gentleman came in and said, how dare you, young man? How dare you tell me the world isn't what I think it is? It's a conspiracy, if you want to use that word. It's an idea that you can't hide from. You don't want to believe in JFK or 9/11 or Sandy Hook or Boston bombing or anything else that's out there. Fine, you don't have to believe it. You can, there are secrets that are buried in the desert that are never, ever going to be found. But this thing you can't hide from because it's all around you.
So and it's a lift from the Matrix. It is inevitable.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Anyway, so I'm going to keep doing, I'm not going to do stats videos very regularly. I just want to look at the numbers. Maybe, I'm more focused on the next, 4 weeks. Because over here in the States, we're still trying to figure out what the hell is going to happen here. Don't know. I still think and believe that something may happen. I'm not going to make an absolute prediction, but it's too weird not to. It's like if you want to stage a perfect climate to throw something weird in the mix, now would be a good time to do it. I don't know. Again, the Christian Bale line from The Big Short. I totally recommend that movie. Which is what are they waiting for? Exactly. They're holding it up. I know that much. I know that flat Earth could absolutely be a mainstream topic right now. It could absolutely be in all sorts of places, but it's not. But they've let it sink into certain places to where it's there. All they have to do now is bring it up officially. Anderson Cooper, one night, we're going to do a special on a topic tonight that shouldn't make any sense. And not to say that Anderson would do it, but anyway, anything else?
Any maybe a service announcement that you've got for the audience before we end it there? I looked at the watch and I thought this will be a 10-minute, maybe 20-minute show. I said before we started, it's been 45 minutes.
Sorry.
I don't apologize. I'm delighted, but
I tend to ramble. Yeah, there's I'm going to do 3 things here pretty quick. I'm going to do a little make fun of. Yeah, I didn't even know, by the way, I talk about naive. Did you follow the television show over in England called the IT Crowd?
Sure.
I didn't even know it existed. Didn't even know. I was in IT.
Well, I'll make a recommendation then. If you like the IT Crowd, look at The Toast of London.
The Toast of London?
Oh yes, they do. They cover all sorts. They covered the moon landing hoax in one episode. You'll love it.
Oh, awesome. Okay, I will check that. Yeah. Anyway, I watched all of them, and I was going to release a little clip from the boss called Spaceology from the episode called Something's Happening, but I tried to build that into one of my Strange Worlds, but it was banned in one country. You know where it was banned? Canada. Why? It's a UK production. Why wouldn't it be banned in the UK? Anyway. And actually, I'm also
Mark, did you not use, I'm sure you used a clip from Toast on your most recent Strange World. Wasn't that Toast of London that you used? The guy
No, that was the IT Crowd or it.
Oh, it's the same guy. That's why I thought it was Toast.
Oh, same guy. Oh, the boss's son. Yeah. No. But yeah, then I couldn't watch it because I'm up in Victoria, Canada right now. And I was going, why is it not showing up on my screen? And I look in the copyright, it said it is blocked in one country. Country equals Canada. I was going, what? Doesn't make sense. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quick, I don't think it'll get a copyright thing. I'm going to do a narrative of comparing NASA to the Capricorn 1 movie. And I'm basically going to narrate over, I'm going to speed it up and slow it down in certain places and let the audio play in certain segments. because I don't think people fully appreciate, if they haven't seen Capricorn 1, and a lot of people haven't, how that movie compares to what NASA's been doing. And what I mean was Capricorn 1 was faking the Mars project, which is interesting because we're still talking about Orion, and we still haven't gone to Mars. So what would NASA, how hard would it be to do for NASA to fake the Mars mission? I think it's very, very relevant, and people are looking for arguments and how to do it. There you go. It's the psychology behind it, and I thought it was brilliant.
Awesome.
So
I can't wait for that. What was the third thing?
Oh, the third thing was what was the third thing? Oh, just another emails. I get so many emails, and I have to read them all. That I don't, but I read them all, but I only want to read a certain amount of on air, but I can't get them all on Strange World. So I'm doing separate shows pretty regularly. So just about at least once a week. If you email me and it's not on Strange World, I'm probably going to do a separate YouTube video where I read and I try to respond to it, because then I don't get interrupted by calls or anything like that. So yeah, I've been kept pretty busy.
Cool. Right. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thought it would be short and sweet, but it's been a bit longer. Everyone is really pleased about. So
are we live streaming this right now?
Yeah, it's been live from 40 minutes ago.
Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't know if it was a pre-record or if we're live.
Nah, I don't do pre-records. Much easier to just press record and let it render and then do something else.
Got it. So, yeah. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Mark, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for going through all of your flat earth statistics with us. It's been brilliant.
Okay. Hey, see you next time.
Superb. And to all of you watching and in chat, thank you very much for joining us. I've been Nathan Oakley. I'll see you all in the next video.